So let's remind ourselves how to add fractions with unlike denominators. Well, we have to get a common denominator first. So you decide on your common denominator, then rewrite the fractions with that common denominator, and then go ahead and do the math. So for instance, if we had 3/8 plus a negative 5/6, we'd have to find a common denominator, and a nice one to use with 8 and 6 is a denominator of 24. So we're going to rewrite our fractions with denominators of 24. So 3/8, we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator by 3. We get 9/24. And we're going to multiply the numerator and denominator of our other fraction by 4s. So we get negative 20/24. And now we have 9/24 plus negative 20/24. So we're going to subtract. 20 minus 9 is 11. Our denominator stays 24, but it's negative 11, so don't forget that. So negative 11/24. Okay, so let's try this problem. 3 and 7/12 plus negative 2 and 4/5. Well, we have mixed numbers going on here, but we still need to focus in on that denominator of the fraction part. So we still need a common denominator. We've got a 12 and a 5. How about we use 60? So we're going to rewrite our mixed numbers so that the fraction parts have a common denominator of 60. Negative 2. Okay, so 12 times 5 gets me 60, so 7 times 5 is 35. And 5 times 12 gets me to 60. 4 times 12 is 48. All right, so now I have 3 and 35/60ths plus a negative 2 and 48/60ths. And since it's a positive and a negative, we're going to just subtract. So we look at our fraction parts, and we'd be subtracting 35 minus 48. Uh-oh, what do we do? So one option is to borrow so that I can get the numerator a little bit bigger. So I'm going to borrow 1 whole from this 3, make that 2 whole. And that whole that I'm going to borrow, I'm going to rewrite as 60/60ths and add that to the 35/60ths I already have. So what I'm looking at now is 2 and 95/60ths plus negative 2 and 48/60ths. 2 minus 2 is 0. 95 minus 48 leaves me with 47/60ths. And then we have to ask ourselves if we can simplify, and no, we can't. So the answer is 47/60ths. Okay, so another kind of problem we'll see is when we have to evaluate an expression for the given value of a variable. So in this case, we have n minus 3/8 for the value of n equals negative 4/5. So first, of course, we're going to substitute negative 4/5 minus 3/8. We're going to look for our common denominator. Let's use 40. It seems to work out well. All right, so 5 goes into 40 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. And 8 goes into 45 times. And 5 times 3 is 15. We got to be careful now. We've got a negative minus a positive. So let's rewrite this as negative 32 over 40 plus the opposite. So plus negative 15 over 40. And we're going to add those together, and we're going to get negative 47 over 40. Of course, we're going to rewrite that as a mixed number, negative 1 and 7/40. And of course, our life would not be complete without a good story problem. So here it is. Gavin needs 2 5/8 yards of fabric each to make 2 shirts. This amount is cut from a bolt containing 9 1/4 yards of fabric. How much fabric remains on the bolt? So we've got 2 5/8 yards to make a shirt, and I'm making 2 shirts, so we're going to multiply by 2. When we're multiplying mixed numbers, we're going to rewrite them first as improper fractions. 2 times 8 is 16. 16 plus 5 gives me 21/8 times 2 over 1. Let's do a little fancy canceling. 2 goes into 2 once, and 2 goes into 8 4 times. So we have 21/4. And we're going to rewrite that as a mixed number, 5 1/4. So we used 5 1/4 yards to make our shirts. The question is, how much fabric remains on the bolt? So if I started with 9 1/4 yards on the bolt, and I subtract off the 5 1/4 we used for the shirts, we're left with 4 yards. And we want to finish this out with a nice good sentence. How much fabric remains on the bolt? 4 yards of fabric remain on the bolt.